Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to When the Shift Hits the Fan. My name is Mark Jeffrey, and I am here once again with my totally awesome co-host, Linda Lehman. And tonight we're going to be talking about the feeling that you have when you first start doing something. And I think it's fitting because actually statistically, people normally stop doing what they started to do for their New Year's resolution about this week. So that means you kind of get a couple of weeks into it and things aren't working out for you. And I'm talking about, we're talking about New Year's resolutions right now, but it's mostly because we're talking to entrepreneurs. It's like when you start something, right, you're really excited about it. You got your game plan down and you got your list of stuff and where you're going to be. And you're really in it, and you get to a point, and all of a sudden, something happens. Now, it could be a lot of different things, so I'm not going to go through all of the different things that it could be, because we would be here all night, and we only have a half an hour. But I'll give you some examples. You got into a business online. You were told in the little video that you watched for 2.5 minutes that this was easy, you wouldn't have to talk to anybody, you just simply had to put your name, give me your $100, and away you go. Okay, that didn't happen. It could have been that you bought a weight loss product in November, and you were going to get in shape, and you were all ready to go, and you started taking this in December thinking that, hey, by January, I'm going to be halfway to my goal, and nothing happened. Or you could be the person that actually starts out with every good intent. You followed all the rules. You're doing everything right. You're just not accelerating at the pace you thought you would, or someone else thought you should, and you're struggling right now. And some things are coming up, right? That Mr. Negative jumped right onto your shoulder. You can't do that. Told you. Huh? Should have listened to me in the first place. Linda, what are we talking about here?
We are talking about that little guy I like to call Mr. X. We're talking about, and I do that to keep things nice.
Because you are, after all, the nice one on this row.
I should have a radical night sometime. But not. We're talking about the comfort zone, or we could be talking about this invisible barrier that's there. We're talking about conditioning that we don't even know that we have. We're talking about paradigms, Mark. Mm-hmm. We're talking about habits that are there that we're not even aware most of the time that they're there. That's what we're talking about. That's what keeps the majority of people stuck.
Exactly. And we're talking about this again because Linda and I both coach people. Okay, so on the days that you're not seeing us, we're working with other people. And we hear this time and time again. So, they go on our first thing and they write down all their goals and they get their journal and they've got their vision board out. I mean, they're really in it to win it. They really have everything that they think they need. But then a couple of weeks into it, we're starting to hear some different language patterns. The patterns that they had before that have not shifted out of the way to allow you to move forward. It's like everything that you've done in your life. And it's easy. Linda, follow me here, right? Because if you never got past a certain point, I don't know, you run a mile, and you run a mile in 10 minutes. And every time you run the mile, every day you go out there, even after a year, you're still a 10-minute mile. Well, one of the reasons is because you expect to do it. So your body will actually slow down to regulate you and make sure you don't go past, 9.9. They got to get that 10 minutes. You will be conditioned to do that. The moment that you start thinking that I could do this in 8 minutes, you're going to start making progress. But the space between that 10 minutes and that 8 minutes inside your head is a huge deal. I don't want to trivialize this in any way, shape, or form, because with Linda and I coaching people, we know that comfort zone is, it's the stickiest flypaper I know of. Linda, gosh, hey?
Yeah, exactly, Mark. And, let's just give people, maybe you can follow me with a visual here to kind of get the grasp of what we're talking about. Because this comfort level, this Mr. X, these paradigms that we're talking about, were planted well before you had the ability to decide, no, I don't want this. In other words, this is like a 5-year-old is actually controlling your comfort zone, because a lot of this stuff that we're talking about was your perception as a child as to what was going on in your environment. So there's nobody to blame. It's just the way it was. And now that you're listening to Mark and I and maybe doing some coaching with us, you have the opportunity to learn and grow. But here's what happens, Mark. We have this wonderful mind of ours. And let's just say that, you gave some great examples about wanting to release some weight, and I say release, and people laugh at me, but I say release instead of lose, because haven't you found that if you lose something, you try to find it again?
Or it finds you, for sure, every time.
Yeah. So
but it is really true. It is, it is true. Listen to this, folks, because it is really the language that you speak to yourself. And I catch myself tons of times throughout the day speaking to myself in a language that is not good for me. And I have to ping that little Mr. X, or my devil be damned, because I'm the bad one on this show. Anyways, I have to do it too. I'm not immune to it. I just recognize it. So, Linda, carry on with that thought, because I think they're going to get it.
Yeah, exactly, and I hope so. So here you are with this perception, and you want to do something different. You want to release these pounds. You want to start your own business. You're really excited. You saw something. You just felt all good inside when you thought about it. Well, as long as you're just playing around with it in your mind, and this is the conscious part of your mind, nothing is going to happen. But let's skip ahead, and let's say that you are excited. You're feeling excited. You've even put your toe in the water of maybe visualizing, closing your eyes and daydreaming about what it would be like to be at your fit self, or what it would be like to have this business of your own. And so you're starting to kind of feel that feeling of what it's like. Well, this is the point that you're actually planting the seed in your subconscious mind. You're actually turning it over to your subconscious mind. But, Mark, this is where Mr. X lives. This is where those paradigms live. This is where that conditioning lives. Now,
absolutely.
It's been kicked back in its recliner, having a good old time with the same-o.
Oh, sure, because it knows you're going to show up sooner or later. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. But now you're giving it something new. You're going, and it says, oh, no, she's trying to change everything on me. Well, this isn't going to work. And so this conditioning, this paradigm, this Mr. X starts throwing things at you that have worked in the past to stop you. That little voice inside saying, you've got to be kidding. Everybody in your family is fat. Why do you think that you can be slim and trim? Or do you really think that you can go into business for yourself? Uncle Joe failed. Uncle Al failed. Your dad failed. What makes you any different from them? You're not going to succeed.
Exactly. And here's the other. Let's jump ahead again too. Let's say you do lose 50 pounds. Mr. X is sitting there going, okay, I'll let you get away with that. However, nobody ever keeps it off.
Right.
See, those things will always be there for you. They just will. You know, here's me, and I'll give you a big one because I survived cancer, and I'm coming up on my, this year is going to be my 15-year anniversary. I'm celebrating like mad when it comes up. But in the back of my mind, whenever I get a twitch or something happens, the first thing that comes to me is, what if it's cancer again? You see, I'm not immune to it. None of us are immune to it. And I think that get comfortable with that idea, but you can have the tools and the skills to battle it. Because as soon as that comes into my head, I'm going, okay, let's get real about this. Why do you think that? Or go to the doctor right now and alleviate those fears. Right? Do it right now. Like, don't sit on it for a week and let it gain legs, for God's sake. Get her done. So, Linda,
Right,
let's give them some tools to work with.
Sure. Absolutely. The cool thing about this, Mark, is that we're giving everyone the realization that when they feel this uncomfortable feeling, there's going to be a battle there. But when you start feeling this uncomfortable feeling, you're going for your goals, and you feel uncomfortable, number one, embrace the feeling. I always tell myself when I start feeling that feeling and I hear that negative voice, I say, Linda, pay attention to this, because this is your Mr. X trying to derail you, so this is a good thing. This means I'm on the right path. And so what I do then is I crank up the heat. I crank up the energy. And I do that, Mark, by using my imagination, getting quiet, and visualizing my success on whatever it is I want to do. And I don't just do it, Mark, 5 minutes today and then forget about it. I make a consistent commitment to myself to visualize my success on a daily basis as often as I can during the day. One long session, and then everything that I do, I'm thinking about, okay, this is taking me closer, this is taking me closer. I'm feeling more uncomfortable. This means I definitely am on the right track. And like you, Mark, I had those doubts when I was diagnosed because, the first things going through my mind is, oh no, I have cancer. This was been a fear of mine that I would be diagnosed with it, and I was. And so I had that battle going on too. But then I made the decision, absolutely, positively, no. Okay, I've been given this. My outcome is going to be different. And I really stuck to it, Mark, when they were telling me chemotherapy, doom and gloom, I'm not going to be happy with the results, this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. I made the decision, and this was doctors telling me this, but I made the decision, no, this is not the way it's going to be. This is going to be, and you're going to laugh, I said, this is going to be easy. I'm getting through this, and I only focused on the end result of what I wanted. I only saw myself healthy. I did not see any of the awful doom and gloom garbage that these professionals were handing to me. And Mark, I'm on the other side of it. I'm cancer-free. I went through some stuff, don't get me wrong, surgery and all of this other fun stuff, but it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. It wasn't as bad as they said it was going to be, and I didn't have to go through the massive poisons in my body like they said I was going to have to do.
No, and so, okay, so we've got one thing sitting on there, perception, moving the perception into a more positive light. Here's another way, too, because, I'm the bad one of the team here, so I'm going to let you know. For the first few, I guess, well, I did a lot, but for the first little time that when I became an entrepreneur, I had a punching bag, okay? But I had it from before, but I used it in a different context because I found it very difficult because there's a lot of misinformation. It was difficult to get information. It wasn't like you could go onto the internet or go to the library and you would have this blueprint But, like I went through law school. You just followed the steps and you got your degree and there you go. I had a punching bag and I would put up all of these things as my day went through. I'd write them down on these little stickies. And I would go punch the crap out of them. All the negative things that happened that day, the lies, people told me lies all day, I'd write it down. I'd really scratch it into that paper, right? There was some effort in that. And I'd stick it on my punching bag, and then after I was done, I would just punch the crap out of it. Another thing you can do is fill it up in balloons and write on balloons and get your darts out. And every time you're feeling it, get it out on that dartboard and annihilate it, right? Physically go in there and say, you got nothing on me. You're not tougher than me. Don't try roping me around. It ain't gonna happen here, buddy. Get ghetto on it, and make it go away.
That's a good
I couldn't come up with a better one. Sorry, Linda. Sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be there every time.
Mhm.
But you're going to know the minute you push through it, because you're going to feel such release and such relief when you find yourself on the other side of this imaginary wall, this imaginary terror barrier. And you're going to find yourself making a quantum leap almost, and it's going to be easy for you. You're going to say, wow, I worried about this and it was easy. But, Mark, I have a caution here. Because once you've stepped up that ladder, you're going to get comfortable. That's going to be your new comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to take you even further and higher, guess what?
Don't stay there too long.
Don't stay there too long. And then when you start moving, you're going to feel that uncomfortable feeling again. You're going to hear that negative monkey chatter going on again. And then you're going to say to yourself, finally, yay, I'm so glad I'm hearing this because I know I'm on the right track. Now, get that punching bag out and punch that monkey chatter right out of there so that you can get out of your way and you can move faster.
It is. And I'm going to tell you something else, and I'm going to run a reverse play here. Because sometimes things happen to you in your life. And I can equate it to where I was at the time I was diagnosed with cancer. I was pretty much at the top of my game. I mean, I was living a life to be envied. And then everything ended at that, on the door, at the doorstep of the Cross Cancer Clinic. Everything stopped. But I mean, I made a conscious decision to stop everything because I knew I was in the battle for my life. But all through it, never was there a time that in the back of my mind that I knew what I was losing. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, I mean, incredible career, relationship. I mean, everything about my life changed in 18 months. I lost everything. I had to mortgage everything. I mean, it was gone. Now, I'm a fighter, so I just, simply picked myself up and said, okay, where do I start in this new life that I'm going to have? Because, and it was hard, because I didn't know what it was going to be, because everybody, well, what are you going to do now? I heard that a gazillion times. What are you going to do now? How are you going to earn your living? Are you going to go back on the road? It was all of this stuff coming at me, because people were worried about me. They thought, they'd find me in a garbage can somewhere, I guess, or something, or the bottom of a tequila bottle. But the thing was, because I had the skills that I built through this career that I had built, because I was living in a man's world, and I was excelling at it, I had the skills, and I knew I had them. They didn't go away. I just was starting from a lower point. Okay, so they were skills that were are kind of like gathering dust, but they're there for you. So even though you may be faced right now with something you have never been faced with, maybe you were like me. I mean, I consider myself lucky my whole life. I mean, I worked for a lot of things, but I always considered myself lucky because everything I wanted, I got. I always found a way. So on one hand, it helped me. Yeah.
It did, and what you also discovered is, and this is a key thing to understand, especially if you're in a position to where maybe you had it all, maybe you had everything that you wanted at that point in time, and the blocks came tumbling down. If you did it once, you already have you're several steps ahead of the game because you already know how to get it done. You've done it once. You can do it again. You were right, Mark. You have those skills.
And I want to make sure everybody understands this. The skills had to be transformed unto themselves. Because remember, here, think about what I said to you. I said I considered myself lucky. So you know what? In my mind, I didn't have to do anything to get to where I was. I just was there. See, that's the way it came to me. Then when cancer came, it was an unknown entity to me. I'm going, what? I had some work to do. I did tons of research. If you could have seen my desk while I was going through this and what I would bring, and the stacks of stuff I would bring to my research team every week, then you'd have a better understanding. Unfortunately for me, like most people, they know they're going to write a story after it's all done, so they keep all of this. I didn't. I had a big burn party. Everybody knew about my big burn party with all of this stuff from cancer. I didn't keep anything. I didn't take pictures while it was going on or anything like that, because I decided that when this was done, I'm done. Like one way or the other, I'm going to be dead or I'm done. But I had to create different skills because of a choice I was making as to how I was going to continue with my life. And I'm going through what every one of you, every person on this planet goes through when you're starting something new. You're not confident about it. You're unsure of yourself. I mean, I don't have any, I don't go abracadabra and my life is great. I'm learning stuff every day. Linda and I do. How many times have I screwed up the recording on this? Because I'm not a techno whiz. I had to learn to do it correctly. I could have gave up on it and said, okay, Linda, we're not going to do this anymore because I can't figure it out.
Yeah, Mark, but you had this, I guess, the skill of learning. You knew, even though you felt like you were lucky and like you became an attorney, you still had to go to school, you still had to study, you still had to learn new things at that point. Mm-hmm. And you're doing the same thing now. Even though, we've got all these wonderful technologies, you're right, we all have to learn it. And there are still things that I'm sitting there going, oh gosh, I don't know how to do that, but I learn it. I find somebody else who knows how to do it to either show me or do it for me. But again, that's a skill, the knowledge that we don't have to be the all-knowing of everything.
No, although it's funny how we feel that we do, though. I don't know what's wrong with people sometimes when they're so afraid to admit they don't know something. God, I'm the person of, I don't know how to do that. Show me. I don't know how to do. I drive people crazy with my curiosity. I'm just curious about everything, and I want to know about everything. But I don't pretend that I do know things when I don't. And even some of my coaching people, I'm going, you know what? What you need is not what I can give. I can show you the way. I can help you get there, but I'm not it. It just depends on where people are coming from. And this show, it's not, we're not your psychiatrist, like lay on the couch, Mark and Linda are here. It's not that. It's to give you an idea, a spark somewhere. And here's the thing. For me, if you're feeling like it's just crap all over the world, lay down on the floor, look up, and then just say to yourself, there's nowhere to go but up. And then at least you're not going down anymore, right? Only press the up elevator button.
Right. Up is more fun anyway.
Yeah, it is. I don't like it when it goes down really fast and your heart goes in your. Some people like that. I don't like
Yeah. Oh, of course, then I'm the one that says, "Oh, let's jump."
that. There you go. So I know, and it may sound, we laugh at ourselves. I believe you should too. Keep your life light. I know that we're going through serious things. I mean, I can tell you that. I went through, a divorce. My daughter was way too big for my body, and it was an emergency thing. I've gone through stuff. And here I am. I always say this. I always land on my feet. It simply doesn't matter. I know I will land on my feet. But sometimes I've done about 17 somersaults before I do. I'm not afraid of it. And that's what I guess for me, to all of you out there, that's what I have say tonight to say is just don't be afraid of it. Just, like Linda says, embrace it and say, what an adventure we all can be on if we're not afraid.
Exactly, Mark. And embrace that feeling of fear. Let it flow, but let it give you that boost of energy that'll take you to the next higher step. Instead of falling back, going back into bondage is what I like to call it, into your comfort zone, afraid and not wanting to face that feeling. If you face it, and then know that when you get on the other side of that, you'll truly have faith in yourself that you will get on the other side of that, and then plan a big celebration when you do.
Oh, yeah, and remember to celebrate. Too many people just, they're kind of like, oh, thank gosh, I got here, and they're going, and then they get scared, and they go little again. It's that little scrunchy person. No, stand there big and large, and yay, man, I got it. I'm all that, and the bag of chips, because you are. Because you really, really are. That's not flippant. I meet way too many people that, it's like you just want to be like, I don't know. Did you get Wipeout down there? It's a stupid show anyways. They have all of these things that people go through, and one of them is the big balls, and people, run. And everybody's afraid of these everybody's afraid of these big balls because everybody falls on them. Not very many people get across. So the makers of the Wipeout put this great big kicker on it, so if you stood there too long, they just boot you off anyways. Well, think about that. If you're standing there too long, life's going to come along and boot you off anyways. It would be better to have a strategic plan to get across the balls than get shot across the balls. Oh, God, I did it again, Linda.
It's okay.
I give.
That's why we are what we are, and that's why our show is so wonderful.
So, we're just about at the bottom of our half an hour here. But that's what I wanted to say. I mean, we're in your corner. We're cheering you on, but reality is it starts with you. And tear off a little piece that you can manage, and then tear off a bigger piece because you can. I mean, you just can. And I can't make you believe it. Linda can't make you believe it. You have to make yourself believe it. So, Linda, as always, I give you the floor.
Oh, thank you, Mark. And I think along with believing in yourself, which is so important, and if you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you 20 times a day, do it because it feels really good. But also be watchful of what you're thinking, because as those negative thoughts and those negative conversations come up, you will either fall into their ugly cycle and buy into it, but if you're watchful of those thoughts, you can actually talk back to them, as Mark said, and say, you know what, no, this is not the way it's going to be. It's going to be this way instead. I am successful. I am an entrepreneur. I am at my ideal weight, and I feel fantastic. So believe in yourself. Watch what you're thinking. Restructure those thoughts to where they serve you instead of beat you back down again.
perfect words to walk out on this one. And we'll be revisiting this. You know, we know it's important, and we're going to be finding, you know, a new way to walk come for your new year. So I want to thank everyone for spending this evening with us. We definitely appreciate all the people that do come and our listeners and our coaching clients. We appreciate you as well. And from here in Canada, good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.